Father, can you tell me what it's like being a chaplain in the Army?
Well, being a chaplain thus far has been very rewarding, and in some ways it's a very diverse apostolate,
Uh-huh.
and had a lot of time dealing strictly with soldiers because I was downrange in Iraq. But since then, I'm dealing with families, more so in what we call the rear detachment up at Fort Drum. And as such, you're doing a lot of pastoral ministry, like very similar to the parish. And so I'd have to say it's rewarding and yet very challenging, as you know, from a lot of the dealing with social issues that we deal with families who have their loved ones basically every other year deployed. And so, like I say, it's a diverse apostolate, and so very rewarding and yet challenging at the same time.
Now, you've spent most of your time since you went in the Army in Iraq, is it?
That's right. I was a year in Iraq, and I've been in a little under 2 years, and so the majority of the time's been overseas. And
What's that like compared to being a pastor here in the States or in a regular parish? What are the differences?
well, it's an entirely different animal, obviously, because you're always on the move and very little routine. I was being resourced to fly like 6 out of 7 days of the week, and a given day was, rather than being in a stable environment, getting out amongst the troops and trying to provide sacraments and maybe saying a mass in a kind of a setting that would be similar to a cafeteria or just some kind of a workplace, wherever they could find a place. And so I'd say it's just a completely different setting. You're kind of in the field. Most of your masses were what you would describe as a field mass, set out of a mass kit, and just being where the soldiers are and in a small space of time when they could fit it in their schedule to have a very kind of a short liturgy, a short mass.
So you didn't have a typical day?
And in a sense it was somewhat typical, because every day you go to a new place and you spent your day trying to be with the troops, trying to invite them to come to prayer, and also to be available to them, ministry of presence. So it had some of its own routine as well. And always kind of being making an attempt to also evangelize, and to try to provide for them where they were, the spiritual element. So,
were there challenges for you in helping the men because they were so far away from home for so long? I mean, is that what you spent a lot of your time helping the men with, or was there any particular problem that you would assist them?
I think general work of the chaplain is morale. The troops have a tendency over there to be outside of the comfort zone, and you're there to give them a sense of comfort and peace and hope. And so that would be kind of an overall effort of a chaplain, is to boost their sense of being. But also they had their needs of loneliness and fears, and a lot of times they were down because they had been over there, not just that particular deployment but multiple deployments, and was also fatigued from the sequence of deployments. So that was
So now you're in transition, it seems. You're going to be going to Fort Drum in New York.
That's right.
And it'll be a little bit more of a parish situation compared to the battlefield. Do you know what you'll be doing then?
Yes. Before I was attached to a unit, and my particular unit was EOD unit, which is Explosive Ordnance Disposal, which means they were the bomb squad. And so I was kind of with them and going on convoys with them, but also ministering to the general population of Catholics, serving the entire division in that respect, and covering about 20 bases in Iraq. Well, now I switched from the unit service to being at the main chapel at the post, at the base, and kind of, as you say, being in somewhat of a parish setting and ministering to families and doing masses and baptisms and even weddings and things like you would do in a regular parish, CCD, RCIA, all those things. So it's been a nice change.
Yeah. Now, what's the weather going to be like now compared to Iraq in northern Europe? Are you going to be able to survive?
It's just the opposite in Fort Drum, and it has a reputation of feet of snow and measuring maybe yards of snow up there. And it's the winter, about 6 to 7 months of winter up there. And so Fort Drum has that reputation of cold winters, but also very frequent deployments. So someone who goes to Fort Drum knows I'm going to go overseas for a year, come back for a year, overseas for a year, and that's the reputation of the 10th Mountain, is that they go where the fight is and are always at the ready for that in training. And so it's a very active post. And
so now it seems like you're planning to return to the diocese at the end of 2010?
That's correct.
Okay.
About another year to go out of my 3-year stint, so kind of getting through it.
Anything else you'd like to add, Father?
I think just an appreciation from coming back to the diocese of just numerous numbers of prayers, support, care packages, and just that spiritual element that I think helped to maintain us and preserve us over in Iraq. And the generosity of people is, I think, the element that is not visible in combat, but is the one that is probably the most important element, is the spiritual. And just thankful to the people of the diocese for that. Received literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of rosaries and catechisms, booklets, medals, and food, medical supplies, all those sort of things. So I'm appreciative of everybody who's constantly saying, we're still praying for you. And we need prayers even here, what we call the rear detachment here in the United States with the troops, because their families deal with so much stress and difficulties. And so the prayers are still very much needed and appreciated.
Thank you, Father.
You're welcome.